his question to me is, what is your writing process? I think this is a great question. First, I want to say, for those listening who ask this question seeking to find their own writing process, my advice to you would be that there is no one size fits all writing process. Everybody's writing process is so unique. So I'll tell you what mine is, but at the end of the day, you just need to find your own writing process. But if you're just curious to hear what mine is, I will gladly share that with you. For stand-up comedy, I feel like it's a pretty simple process for me. I don't sit down and think about things that are funny. I just, as my day is going on, if funny things pop into my head, and they can pop in any time of the day, they normally pop in when I'm relaxed, when I'm doing dishes, when I'm taking a shower, sometimes when I'm just about to fall asleep or when I just wake up. They pop in my head any time of day. As soon as I have a funny thing pop in my head that made me chuckle to myself, or if I've noticed it made a friend chuckle, I will just immediately grab my phone, and I have on my iPhone, in the iPhone notes section, it just says comedy. That's the title. And then I just go there and I add it on. Sometimes my friends will even partake in this because they know I do this. And they'll be like, hey, that was funny what you said. Write it in your notes. So that's my first step. I don't really consciously think of funny things. When funny things happen, I just take note of them. Then later, I go back to those notes and I pick, if I know I'm going to do an open mic that week, I'll pick maybe 5, because usually at open mics you get a 5-minute set, and I've personally noticed that 5 minutes usually for me, and this is individual for every single person who does stand-up comedy, depends how long your jokes are. Personally for me, I notice 5 minutes is about 5 topics on there, so I take about 1 minute per joke, unless it's a one-liner, but typically I would choose 5 to 8 topics on there, somewhere around there. So I'll pick the things that I think have potential, and then I will sit and break them down and try to come up with a punchline, try to rearrange it, try to think of a funny way to say it, try to rearrange the words. So, you know, the initial creative spark is just natural. It just comes to me naturally. The actual work is something I do afterwards. I never do it the other way. I never sit and think of something funny and then hope something creative comes up. That's not true for everybody. Some people would shame me for that. They'd be like, shame on you. You should sit down and write even if you don't have that creative spark. But I just don't do it that way. I just kind of go through my notes and then I sit down and break it apart analytically. When I really think about it, comedy writing is also a community-based effort, because really the community is the audience. You know, like, you write comedy by yourself, but when the comedian goes to an open mic and interacts with the audience, they're really taking part of the writing process, because they're getting feedback from the audience, and and then a good comedian will go back home and write in their notebook like what worked, what didn't work, and try to edit it. So it's like kind of fascinating when you think about it. Like I said in the beginning, that doesn't mean my process is your process, because I know some people who do it the polar opposite way. I know some comedians who literally just go on stage and they just improvise right then and there. You know, writing is such an individualized process. The one thing I will say before I move on to the next question, sorry, I told you I could rant. I might not even get through all 6 questions, is that there is a lot of theories out there that creativity isn't really yours. It's something out there in the ethos. I've heard a lot of people refer to it. They made the analogy of a radio station, that you tune like the old school radios that would have that fuzz, that there's information out there, but your body needs to be in tune to find it. And I think I believe this, because I think that's why so many people end up having similar creative ideas, because there is such thing as parallel thinking, which you often see in stand-up comedy. Especially you'll have comedians like accusing each other of stealing each other's jokes, which does sometimes happen, but there's also genuine instances, and I've had it with myself. I've had instances where I thought of a joke and someone else got to it before me, and I was like, God damn it, I can't use that joke now, or at least not in that way. So I do think that that's an interesting theory, that this information is just out there for ours to be had, and it's up to us to tune into it. And some people tune into it, which I like. I like that, because then you sort of remain humble in the creative process that way, because you realize you're not really the one writing it. It's just there for you to have, if that makes any sense. You know, I mean, I can't prove this is true, but I do have some beliefs like that, because otherwise, where the hell is these sparks of creativity coming from? You know, I think as a human being, it's my job to take care of my body and my health, so I could be available for the information. But besides that, like, it's totally out of my control, you know? Anyways, moving on to the next question.